which production are you involved with right now?
I'm in college letters.
Okay. And what's your role in all this?
I play Elvira Sumner.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about the character, please?
Yeah, so she's a college student. Um, she's only been in college for about 3 months, and she's kind of has a dark sense of humor, and she likes to stick to herself a lot.
Would you say this character fits you in real life, or is this a bit of a stretch that you're playing?
It's a little bit of both, I think. So I definitely have some similarities with this character. I do tend to joke on subjects that are a little bit on the darker side. And but I do find that I relate more to the character when I compare the character to like how I was in my like teens and 20s, right? As I got older, I kind of veered a little bit away from that. I guess I was kind of an angsty teenager.
I think all of us have been
Mhm.
angsty teenager phase at some point, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So I think that makes it a character that's relatable to a lot of people.
Yeah, I would imagine. Heck, I'm still angsty middle-aged man.
I'm a little angsty sometimes too, for all it's worth.
So how much experience do you have in performing?
So that's a funny one. I did perform like in like plays and productions in high school, and then I did some in university because I studied theater and French for about a year before I switched departments. And then for like the longest time, I did more backstage and I did like stage managing. But I had done a couple of plays at Theatre Cambrian where I was performing. And then I was in SPG's production of the Miss Magnolia Senior Citizen Beauty Pageant.
Mhm. What what made you want to go for this role? What made you audition for this?
I had a lot of fun in the last play that I did, to be honest. And when I was back on stage, I was like, oh, yes, this is the thing I just love doing. But when I did audition, I read like part of the monologue for this character, and it's the one that, of the like all the cold reads that I had, it was the one that I kind of related to the most.
Okay. Now hold on. Now, Miss Magnolia, from my understanding, was more of a comedy.
Yeah.
This one's a wee bit on the dramatic side, if I've been understanding this correctly. How? So that's like one jump to another jump. How do they compare? Well, I've got so many questions to ask. How do they compare jumping from one genre to another genre? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, so it 100% is a different jump, right? As you said, like the tone is different. This time I'm also not doing accent, where I was in Miss Magnolia. So it is different, but I think it is still fun, and I think it is still a different challenge. I just feel like I'm pulling into like some of my own like memories and past experiences a lot, maybe more. You still do that even with comedies, but
That's interesting. So would you say for this drama, you're putting more of yourself into it?
yeah, I guess so. Like, I don't want to say that I never do that in like comedies either, because you still, even in a comedy, you want to portray like a person. And I think there's always bits of truth of yourself in everything that you do. But I think this one is kind of forcing me to put a lot more of my own like personality on stage versus being someone who's completely different from me, if that makes sense.
Now, this is just for my own personal curiosity, but for your experience with Ms. Magnolia, I mean, what do you think it takes to be funny on stage? Do you think there's a difference to being funny on stage as opposed to being funny in real life or something? Like, do you think there's a method to being funny on stage?
That's a good question. I think some like parts of what makes it funny is to just let like the lines themselves be funny. Like if that makes sense. Like I think there's always a balance of like trying to find how to say it so that's funny versus just allowing it to be funny in some ways. there was a lot of like timing with like trying to time with the like audience when you're getting a lot of laughter too, right? So it's to like let your kind of whatever line you said that's funny kind of land before you go into like the next thing. And it's gauging like how much the audience is laughing and just waiting for that kind of laughter to settle.
What about for this drama? What are you doing to be dramatic in these scenes? I mean, if you understand my question, what's the different approach? Essentially, what was your creative process? How did you prepare for this character?
Yeah, so I guess part of it is just preparing myself mentally for that type of like subject. And like if you see the show, like there are still a lot of like funny moments to this show because I think audiences don't necessarily want something that's just completely like dark and sad or like completely like cynical all the way through, right? So like even though this character is very dark and cynical, she's dark and cynical but also witty and also funny. And it's like balancing those two things because you'll have lines that are really funny and then you'll also have lines, you know, that are on the darker side.
And what's your creative process for this?
Yeah, so it's just kind of like I tend to like practice in like even in my head I'll run through my lines like ahead of when I'm on stage a lot or like I'll run through the lines and I feel like the more times I say or like think certain things, it allows me to kind of get into the feelings of that moment. And so like a lot of my process is just doing that before I actually like go up and do it.
Now, feel free to say no if you want, but I just have to ask, is there a favorite part of this production that you can share, or would that be spoiling it?
That's a good question. I think so like one of the parts that for me is going to be like kind of fun and challenging is that there's only two of us in this production. So that makes it like that means that we're both just on stage like for the entire show. So that's going to be a different challenge that's new to me. And like because we're in a college dorm, there's like me and there's like the other like my college roommate, and it feels like we're just hanging out and having like conversations, which makes it fun, right? Where you're hanging out like on a bed and just in some ways just talking about all kinds of ridiculous subjects.
Okay, so natural, relatable.
Yeah.
All right.
I do also have to eat on stage, so that's something that's going to be a new challenge to eat and then talk. So that's always fun.
I mean, I could see that being a bit of an experience in and of itself. I know firsthand that you have done, and maybe will continue to do, or do continue to do, a lot of the background work for production,
Mm-hmm.
stage management, or such and such, assistance, directing. Now, to the common person, this might seem somewhat boring, but why did you want to get involved with the backstage stuff?
Yes, there's a lot that goes on backstage. Like some of my favorite moments from doing shows are just sitting backstage while the show is running and like dancing backstage to the music, right? Or no one can see you. Like, and then like there's moments where you're with like the cast backstage, kind of having those like silent moments of, you know, doing a little dance and like things like that. But there's a lot of hard work that happens backstage as well, right? And there's a lot of challenges and there's a lot of like helping each other out, right? Like I remember there was somebody who had a really like quick like costume change and like there's, you know, like arms are flailing and like throwing on a costume. Now here you go, right? Like some of those moments are just fun once you get so into the groove of a show that like what was challenging the first show by like a couple of more tries is just smooth. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of fun to see like those types of like that type of progress.
Yeah, I suppose like to a certain problem, like quick thinking, problem solving, that in and of itself could be pretty fun stuff.
Yeah, and I guess I just like gradually got into more and more like things like backstage. Like the first show I did backstage I really was just helping out, like, I think as of Tech Week or something. And then like I just loved the community of people, and I loved the sense of helping and being a like productive member of the like production, right? And I just sort of naturally gravitated to different types of roles and just tried them out and see if I liked them.
Okay. I've got to ask,
Mhm.
do you enjoy, would you say you prefer being on the stage or behind the stage?
Yeah, so that's a question I don't know if I actually know the answer to. I really enjoy being on stage. Um, and when I was back on stage for like Miss Magnolia, that was like, oh yeah, this is a thing I really love. But I don't want to say that that's gonna mean I'm never gonna want to stage manage again, and that I don't enjoy stage managing too. I think it. I think the two are just very different as well. So maybe I will continue to do a little bit of both. I don't know.
Well, that would be the best of both worlds. Um, Lastly, what is SPG to you? You've not only volunteered to perform with SPG, but you've also volunteered to handle the backstage stuff as well. Why do you do this? What does SPG mean to you?
Yeah, so SPG has really kind of allowed me to do this thing that I knew like when I was a teenager that I loved doing, which was like theater and acting. And even in high school, I painted sets and did stuff like that too. So it's just been this thing that I love doing. But I previously didn't realize that I had a way of doing it without having that be my career, right? Which is why I thought, like, originally when I went to university, that's what I had taken, because I didn't know that there was another way of doing it.
Is there anything you'd like to say to somebody who may be considering uh, volunteering for SPG, maybe on the stage, maybe backstage, but just can't muster uh, can't muster the time or the wherewithal to go through with it? Is there anything you'd like to say to this person to encourage them?
Yeah, if you're considering doing it, definitely give it a shot. I can tell you that you learn a lot even from the process of auditioning. I can tell you that I've had auditions that I bombed and I did really terrible at them, right? And then, but you learn from that, and then you kind of realize what works, what doesn't. So, like, even if you come out and audition for your first show, don't give up if you weren't cast. Continue to like learn from that and try again. There's also a million different roles for people that could help out at SPG, right? So if you're thinking you don't want to be on stage, there's tons of other ways that you can contribute, right? Like you mentioned, there's stuff backstage, there's stuff in like front of house. You can help sell 50/50 tickets, you can help like with the food at the dinner theaters. SPG also has comedy shows that I'm pretty sure they also get volunteers to help out with. So there's lots of things that you can do if you want to give people a hand and have something fun to do when you're not working during the day.
Absolutely. Speaking of, from my firsthand experience, it's just a great community. Get to meet
Mhm.
a lot of really great people. Got to meet you during Perfect Wedding.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the joys for sure, right? It puts people who wouldn't have necessarily met together, and everybody's working towards that common goal.
Well, the floor is yours. Is there anything you'd like to say to the people watching right now?
Yeah, just I guess I really hope that you come out and see the show, and like not just College Letters, but also the other two shows. I think I like from what I've seen of the scripts and from rehearsals, like those are both going to be very good shows that you don't want to miss. A lot of the people involved are working really hard, and I think it's going to be a great time.
All right, there you have it, folks. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah,
Take care.
bye.